right, hello everybody. Welcome to the sound design P2P workshop using FL Studio. My name is Noah Detweiler. I hope you guys are excited to make some sound. By the end of this workshop, you should have a project, or well, you should be able to make this. You'll probably have a much simpler looking product, but this is eventually what we're hoping you'll be capable of by the end of this. All right. If you haven't already, open up FL Studio just to start. Open it up. And since it should be your first time opening up FL Studio, you'll just start with a new basic template workstation here. All right. If you have it pulled up, first thing you're going to want to do, first thing I always do, is go down to Save As, File Save As. And you should have a projects folder. I have one just called projects, but I would name yours like FL projects or music projects or something like that. That definitely helps keep it organized. But as you can see, all of my stuff is in here. All my work, all my projects. So what you're going to want to do is you're first going to want to save it with a name. I'm just going to call mine P2P tutorial. And then you can't really change. You can save it as like different file types, but I would just save it as an FL Studio song file. That'll keep it simple, easy to open. All the rest of these are not really meant to be reopened in FL Studio. Okay, so save it. All right, let's start. First thing that we've got to do is let's look at the workstation. Let's break it down real quick. As always in most digital workspaces like Unity, which a lot of you are probably familiar with, you have the file, edit, add, patterns view. You have all your menus here. This is where you're gonna be like anything that you don't know how to do. It's always good to refer back to this and look through it. Especially the help tab. I just want to point you towards the help tab. This is amazing. If you don't know how to do anything, I just would recommend looking through it, going through the index, going through the documentation, even posting on the forum. I've posted on the forum and gotten help a couple times. So yeah, it definitely helps. Okay. Right here, this is all of our tools. This is what we're going to use to place things. This is what we're going to use to paint things. The pencil tool is good for placing singular notes, or these things are called patterns. The paintbrush is good for placing multiple patterns and clicking and dragging. The delete is good if you've got to delete a bunch of things at once. And then if you ever want to mute a playlist, you've got the mute button. These are the ones that we're mainly going to be focusing on today. And as you can see, their hotkeys are P, B, D, and T. Really useful. These are just going to be the tools that you're always using. All right, up here, what you have is basically your control station. You've got the play, you've got the pause, you've got stop. This is where you will be recording. You can change the tempo, which we will play with later. You've got the master volume of the whole workstation. Everything is affected by this. And you've also got your pitch, your master pitch, if you ever want to see something in a different pitch. All right, heading over here, this is also a menus bar where you will pull up your different windows. Right now, what we have open is your main workstation. This is where you're going to be constructing your project. This is called the track list. As you can see, there's track 1, track 2, track 3, track 4. This is where you're going to be placing all of your patterns. Now your patterns are over here in the pattern viewer. Your pattern's where you're actually going to be putting the sound. You're going to make little loops. You're going to be placing audio into those, and then you're going to be taking that audio, you're going to be placing it onto the track list. Let's start by just making it pretty so we don't have to organize it later. We're going to start with drums. So first, what you're going to do, this is an organizational tip. I always use this. I always use this to keep my patterns in order. It always helps to color code them because it looks cool and also it's like nice. We're going to start by just making a little drums one. And for this, we're going to make it red. Or, well, I'm going to make it red. You can make it whatever color you want. I just think of drums as like red because I don't know. Because I think it very like passionate, very, like more aggressive, like how drums are. There's always like an action. So drums, ooh, yeah. And then you can color it. And then that way, when you drag it on here, you see it's named and it's also colored. So that automatically we know what is exactly in there. We know that drums are red and every drum should be red. All drum patterns should be red. Now we're going to go to the track that it's on. Track 1 is going to be our drum track. Easy enough because that's going to be what we're starting with. First things first, you're going to go over here. You have a whole plethora of icons that come in all shapes and sizes. I'm just going to find the snare drum thing, and I'm just going to use that as kind of to encompass all of my drums. You can get more in depth with it. And if you want to make each track for a different drum, that is completely fine. You'll kind of understand more as I get into it, what I mean by that. So we've got drums. Now we've got our drum track, and now the inside is red, which is cool. The whole thing's red. But now we know on that track, there's always going to be drums. Not down here, not anywhere else. That is our drum track. All right, now that we've got those colored, named, and also iconed and labeled, you can drag it out a little bit if you want to see it. But now we're going to actually start placing some sound. That brings me to our next menu. We're going to skip over this one. We'll come back to it. We're going to skip over the piano roll. We're going to come to the channel rack. Now the channel rack, this is where you're going to be placing all your instruments, all your audio, and any MIDI stuff that you're bringing in. This is where these are like audio channels. So this is like the input of your audio. Right now, these are all already digital, but imagine if you had an audio interface and you plugged in your guitar to input one, that would be the channel that it's coming into. So you've got a kick, clap, hat, and snare. Usually the template always starts with these unless you choose a different template, which they have multiple, but I always like to just start with this one. Yeah, so we can start making our beat. Let's make a short beat. Why don't we? And you can see that we're just clicking these little nodes. These have, there's a rhyme and reason. These aren't just like little colored pegs. These are actually the on beat and the off beat. The red is the off beat, the gray is the on beat. So yeah, and then these are all the beats that are within that. So we're just gonna place one. So that should be just like right. And then you have the hat on the off beat, and then we'll put the snare on the next on beat, and then we'll bring the hat back up. Okay, let's see what that looks like. That should be in our drum pattern, because we have our drum pattern selected. So yeah, you can see it here too. This is the pattern that is selected, the drum pattern. Also right here, pattern 1. All right, so we have that. Let's look. Okay, look, something changed here. we have this, we have these little nodes. Let's play the song and see what happens. Okay, now we've got a beat. And you can drag that out along these, which these are measures, and there's 4 beats in the measure. You can change those, but that's getting a little bit more complicated, a little bit more music theory-y, and I'm trying to stay away from that for this, just so anybody can kind of hop in. So, but yeah, now we've got these drums. We have them for 2 measures, 8 beats in all. So yeah, that's cool. It just will loop. All right. And one little thing that I want to make note of is I switched between these two. This just means that you're listening to the pattern you have selected when you have pattern selected, and song just means you're going to listen to your track list. Um, so yeah, hold on one second. Okay, so next, let's focus on the piano roll, which is another menu. This directly relates to the channel rack in some way. You see these little pegs? This is actually us just placing notes on the piano roll, but in a it's more like a drum roll. It's easier to comprehend than placing little pegs on the piano roll. But the piano roll is exactly what it sounds like. It's a digital piano that just helps you visualize placing notes in the measures. As you can see, these are the beats. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these are the notes that we placed. And if we listen to the pattern, exactly. All right. Next thing that we're going to want to do, and since we're focusing on the channel rack, is let's take a look at our browser. Our browser is kind of like the inspector or like any database or file selector that is in any other digital workspace like Unity or like Premiere Pro, um, for all those like film nerds out there. So in here, you can see your current project. You can see all the history that you've made, everything that you've made, the patterns, the effects, the generators, the remote controls, everything that you have on there, the recent files that you've opened. You've got plugins, you got scores, presets, backups. You've got files that you have on your computer, and then you have packs. These are built in instrument packs that FL graciously provides, and you should have access to. So look through that. There's a whole thing. There's drums, there's guitars, there's keyboards, there's drum loops if you want to play with drum loops, if you'd rather not make your own drums. Sometimes it's hard. I know it took me a while to get the rhythm of stuff. So you've got drum loops that you can mess with. Yeah, that was wild and crazy. Um, so yeah, drum loops. I always like to just start with an electric keyboard. So what you're gonna want to do is you're just gonna want to take it and drag it. Just take it, drag it up to it, and plop it on, and then it should automatically. If you want to do it in a more manual, technical way, you can also just do this. This is more for plugins, so you might not find instruments, but you can also just hear it and then open a new channel, which should bring it up into the channel if you just right click on it or double tap if you're using a track pad. I meant like tap with 2 fingers. All right. And you're probably seeing that menu that comes up when it pops up. That is basically the master controls for that sound. Um, each one will kind of have different controls or different interface. It kind of depends. The ones that are by FL usually have this or a more generalized one. This one's a little bit more special, but as you can see, you've got all the different notes that are within this instrument. Um, and you can mess with the numbers if you'd like, but I wouldn't suggest it. That gets a little bit more complicated when you start messing with those. But these are all the effects that we will play with in a little bit. So let's head to our piano roll. Actually, first, let's not forget, let's make a new pattern. Always put different instruments in different patterns. You can put instruments in the same pattern if you want everything to kind of be together. I'd like to do that if I'd like to build off of something. Um, but I think definitely make sure that your patterns are divided. Okay, I'm gonna name this one electric piano. We give it a blue color because I like blue for pianos. And then I'm also gonna name that on my track. I'm gonna say that this is, I'm gonna give this one a more of a, I'm just gonna make it the piano, but I'm gonna say that this one's more of the melody. That way, if I like want it to lead into different things, and no. Be specific. Be specific. You have a million tracks, so be specific. It really helps. So I'm gonna say electric piano. All right. Cool. And it was red for a second just because it was selected. All right, now that we have our electric piano, we can go into our piano roll. And this is another thing. Um, you have to have your instrument selected, which you can do up here whenever you're in the piano roll. As you can see, we have the kick, clap, hat, and snare. Those are all in the drum pattern, but we don't want those in there. So make sure you have electric selected or whatever thing you're using. All right. Now, this might be a little bit harder for people who, again, don't know music theory. Um, or, but I guarantee you can make something that sounds cool just by even placing two notes on top of each other. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. Maybe a little bit not, but one tool that may help you streamline the process is using a little tool that they have built in called the riff machine. This is great to help you get started with an idea or something like that. So let's open it up. Oh, it already starts just giving us a cool thing here. You can go through and affect the progression, the chords, the arpeggiation, mirrors, humanize it, interpret it, groove, and fit it, restrict it, and transpose it. You can do all types of stuff with it. But I'm gonna throw the dice. And then I can go through and tweak it with different things. That didn't really do much, but yeah. If you want like a specific pattern, you can just press this right here and it should open up a specific pattern you can use. Yeah. So I'm just gonna roll a dice a couple times. That's pretty goofy. Oh. Okay, let's keep that. Okay, cool. Now that we have that, let's hear that all together with our drums. If you've been following along, you already have a basic song right here that you can just start playing around with. It's really great. A useful tool that I'm going to quick show off real quick is that of free sounds. Oops, I accidentally clicked something. Okay, is free sounds. This is if you, for some reason, don't have the packs menu. Free sounds. Okay, don't go to freesounds.com. It's freesounds.org. I always get something weird whenever I go to freesounds.com. But make sure you log in, make a quick account. This is if you don't have the packs or you don't, for some reason, yeah, if you don't have that or if you don't want to use that, you can totally come in here and find some cool sounds. Um, like, okay, you see here, this has a bunch of free royalty-free sounds. Sometimes they're not royalty-free, so I suggest just making sure, read the description. Let's find a little guitar sound that I could use. What's this? Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, I like that. So I'm just gonna come in here. Okay, this sound is not for public domain. Um, if you see something like that, just make sure that you give credit. But for right now, I'm gonna steal it because I'm not gonna be selling this or use this project past a certain point. So we have that downloaded. And what we can do is we can go to this. I'm just going to basically do it the simple way. There is another manual way you can do it, but I'm going to do it the simple way. I'm going to go into my downloads and I'm going to pull it just directly on here. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Oh, we can stretch it. That's another cool thing you can do is up here when you have the focus on audio clips, because you can focus on certain things on your tracks. There's a stretch button. If you turn that off, you just shorten it. But if you have stretch on, you can actually pause stretch it. I think that's what it's called. Um, but it just means that you stretch out the time. I can't remember, but either way, time stretching, which is cool, cool, cool for sure. All right. Next thing that I think that we should focus on is, well, first, let's rename and recolor this track. I'm gonna say that this one is for audio samples. I'm gonna say that. That's for our sample, and I'm gonna make it green. And I'm gonna say this one is samples. Oof. I gotta find out what its original stretch was because I like that much more. That's fine. Okay, cool. Next, let's do something a little bit recording. We've already seen that we can just pull sound files straight in, but let's look at when we make a new sound file. We make um a new piece of audio. Okay. First things first, if you don't have a mic, you'll probably just have to use your laptop speaker, which is a-okay. But go to the audio settings and you'll probably have your primary sound driver added unless you for some reason have a unless or not for some reason, but if you do have a audio interface, uh, I would suggest totally using that if you know how to use it. But an audio interface is the best thing to use, a sound driver. But since we don't have one of those, we're going to use the built-in one, um, which this stands for audio stream input and output. Yeah, it's just a way to stream the sound through into our computer and digitized that real life audio into a bunch of numbers. So it comes through as actual sound on our computer. Pretty cool. You don't need to worry about the rest of this stuff. This will be getting in if you actually really want to get in depth into recording. You can set the offset, the buffer length, the other offset. Yeah, so we're not going to focus on this. I'd make sure that your resampling quality is at least 32. 32 is pretty good. Okay. Now that we have that chosen, we're going to press this record. We have a bunch of different options. The one we're going to pick is audio into the playlist as an audio clip. This will just record it directly onto our track and not take us anywhere to edit it, or in this case, in notes and automation case, actually, if we have like a MIDI keyboard or if we are doing like live instrumentation, this would record that, just that. And then everything records through multiple outlets. It records everything that is feeding sound into the DAW. So right now we're just going to do audio as a playlist into the playlist as an audio clip. Okay, wait, hold up. Oh, I accidentally still had sound driver picked. My bad. Okay. Ooh, got to take this off. But as you can see, I had to take that off because it was coming through and messing me up. But as you can see, we need an audio input first. I don't know if this is really weird for you guys, but um, oops, stop right there. Okay, I don't like to automatically, FL Studio will feed your microphone data through the master mixing track, which I don't like to do. I like to have my own like special mixing track over here so I can add effects to it while I'm recording. Um, and it will actually put the effects on it while I'm recording it, so that I can take that and then add even more effects later. So right now we're gonna go up here. And I'll explain everything about mixing tracks and stuff like that in a little bit. But this is the mixing menu. Well, I'll give a quick rundown. This is the mixing menu. This is where all of where you're going to manipulate your sound, where you're going to mix it so it sounds good. If we press play real quick without that on, you can already see that there's some green bars coming up. That's because on the channel rack, our drums are automatically mapped to the first 4 mixing tracks right there. So when we play it, you can see them actually coming through. You can see audio coming through. And then we can turn them all down using this. They're not as loud now. Okay, cool. And I'll get into how to assign after we record something. Let's record something real quick. Okay, here I'm going to say input 1. Now, since I only have one audio input, which is my mic right here, I'm going to say insert 1, in 1. That just means that it's going to record mono and take that mono sound and transfer it to stereo so that it comes out both speakers, but it's taking this and putting it through both audio mixing channels. So you see, if you press in 1 and 2, hi, it's only recording on the left side, as you could see by that. But if you do 1, hello, it comes in as 2. So yeah, we're gonna have in 1 and we're gonna record something real quick. Hello, my name is Noah. All right, let's turn that off. But as you can see, we recorded into here, which is absolutely wild and crazy. Now let's listen back. Hello, my name is Noah. I don't know why that sounds so weird, but that is our audio track. There we go.
Hello, my name is Noah.
Okay, we're gonna stretch it out just to make it goofy and be on beat. But yeah, that's how you record audio. Now, and some reasoning behind why I recorded into the 20th track. I like to keep my mixing tracks relatively organized by everything above 20 is for audio, recorded audio, or just audio in general. And then everything below is for instruments, MIDI, or anything like that. So I'm gonna actually color it. So to do that, you're gonna want to select all of them by clicking Control and then click and drag across. And then you're gonna want to click it and then rename color and icon like usual. So this is gonna be recording. I'm going to say these are recordings. And then I'm going to make this, let's make them yellow. That's a weird sandy yellow. I don't know if I like that that much, but that's okay. And we can go through and name in each individual one to be more like it. And as you can see on the channel rack, now that we did that, this guy right here is on channel 21, which I did earlier. But if you want to know how to put these onto mixer tracks, you just got to do this. Just drag them and put them up. We're going to put the electric piano in 5. This is in 21. I don't like to have it on the same track as the one I'm recording into, but I like to do it every number after for already recorded instruments. So we're going to take these. These are going to be our drums. We're going to make them red as well and just say that they're also drums. I'm not going to name them. I'm just going to say that. And then we're going to do the same for this. Make this blue and put the piano. Okay, cool. That is how you place them onto mixer tracks, which is cool. Cool, cool, cool. Now, something that I wanted to get into was next. Now that we've got recordings, we've got sound samples. This is considered a sample because it's ripped media that we are repurposing. We've got our pianos, we got our drums, we got everything, the makings of a good song or some sound design.
Hello, my name is Noah.
Okay, and now let's do something cool. Let's add some effects. Let's do some effects. Let's manipulate our audio. So let's take one. Let's say I'm gonna do our piano. First things first, I'm gonna put some reverb on it. You can use the Fruity reverb too. That's one way to do it. That's their like default reverb. It's just for reverb. Puts some really nice reverb on there, but we're gonna use the effector because this is a just like all-encompassing effector module that lets us just like mess around with a bunch of different effects. So now that we have that placed on, what you're going to want to do, let me go through how I did that, is you press on the slot and then it brings up a menu and you're just going to go down to the effector. And all of these are considered plugins and slash or effects. And we'll get into plugins in a little bit. But yeah, so we have our reverb on there. Now I'm going to solo the track. I'm going to solo the mixing track. You can do this with everything. All you got to do is right click or use both your fingers and tap if you have a trackpad, and that'll solo the track so only it's playing. You can also do that out on, you can also do that out here. So let's say I want to just solo that, or I just want to solo the piano. So yeah, you can also do it on here, but you've actually got to click solo, which is pretty cool. Okay. Now that we got this mixing track soloed, let's mess with it a little bit. We only hear that. Oh, we're also hearing our audio because we didn't put it on a sample or on a track either. So we're gonna put that on 6 and then we'll get to it in a little bit. So now we just hear that. Oh, and as you can already hear, we have some reverb on there. If you're following along, I'd suggest definitely just messing around with it. Disclaimer, Definitely be careful with some of these while you're playing around, because some of them will blow out um, your headphones or your speakers. So I'd suggest just like either turning down this gain and then slowly bringing it up, or using the dry and wet, which is like how much the effect is actually on the sound, especially for things like distort, the lo-fi, or the Vox. Those can get very loud. And just a general suggestion always is keep your volume low, and you can always turn it back up. But while you're messing around and experimenting, keep your volume low to not damage your hearing or damage your equipment. All right, cool. So let's start it playing and let's put some reverb. Ooh, yeah, I like how deep that is. All right, that's pretty cool. And then let's hear it with everything.
Hello, my name is Noah.
I'm gonna take down that vocal track a little bit. It's a little overpowering. Um, but next thing we're gonna do is, I don't really like we're gonna still solo the same electric piano track, but I don't really like the frequencies coming through. They kind of hurt my ears. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing that we did when we went to the effector on the same effects list right here, same effects menu, and you're going to go to Fruity Parametric EQ2. This one's way more intuitive than the first Fruity Parametric EQ, and it's just like a simple EQ. And what an EQ is an equalizer. And this just allows you to filter your sound and, filter out any frequencies that you don't like. It's good and important into crafting and molding your sound, and a tool that I often use a lot. Um, so like, let's just listen. As you can see, a bunch of bars are coming up and dissipating. These are all of the frequencies that are currently playing out of that mixing track. Um, so let's see what I do when I eliminate the upper frequencies. Okay, yeah, that definitely muffles it a little bit more. So yeah, as you can see, this is just like cutting out certain frequencies. If we do the lower, it's making it much thinner, much higher in frequency. If we take out the middle, definitely a cool thing to play with to craft your sound. I think I liked it. They also have presets up here. You'll always find presets and the settings for the plugin and stuff like that. I like radio. That's always cool. That's my favorite one.
Hello, my name is Noah. Hello, my name is Noah.
Okay. And then next thing that I want to go over, and the final thing, is what were those effects? Like, where were those effects coming from? Those were provided by FL, but there are effects and synths and plugins, as they're called, that we can find anywhere. Plugins are usually considered external bits of code and stuff that people make to put into DAWs and to put into other such programs as well. But they are um, they're pretty cool. Usually they cost a lot of money. It kind of depends on what you're looking for, but there is one that I would suggest using. Um, OBXD. It's a paid for. They usually they're like synths, but somebody has a digital version of it that is like this. And you can see is this on this interface. This is what you will see within FL. And then you can download it. And once you have it downloaded, I'm gonna quick just go through how to add it to your plugin list. Okay, once you have it downloaded, I suggest making a folder. I think I have one on my my desktop here. If I can find it. My desktop's a bit of a mess, but I have it called My VSTs. Um, and this has all my plugins that I've downloaded externally into them. Oh, you can't see it. Okay. I now realize you could not see that, but make a folder, name it plugins or VST. I can't remember what VST means, but yeah, definitely download that and put it in the folder. And then you go to add up here, more plugins, go to manage plugins, and then you'll want to find the folder with your thing in it. You'll want to find your folder and you'll want to find the new ones that are not already added. So like the ones that you just downloaded, if you did download it, or any new plugin that you're trying to download will always glow orange like this. You'll always click find plugin after you've um, like found the file destination. And since I already have them, these three down here are the new ones that I've added. Um, Out of the whole list, these are the ones that I downloaded externally. And usually they would glow, they would have an orange text, but they're already on my FL. So, but let's pull that up and see what that looks like. Okay, let's go to more plugins and let's pull up the OBXD. Okay, as you can see, it's exactly how we saw on the website. If you guys saw that, I don't know, my screen might have been paused, but this is a cool synthesizer with a bunch of presets. This is good if you want like an 80s sound. I always like playing with this. They have a bunch, bunch of cool sounds on there. And also they've got this awesome interface that you can just mess with certain dials and totally experiment with. So definitely suggest that one. I also suggest just like searching around for some cool ones. And then that becomes a channel on our thing that we can assign to a mixing track and put some effects on and make it sound cool. All right. Now is the time to experiment yourselves, which is scary, but go ahead and that should be everything. Um, One thing I just want to make sure that I went over is that you can just, oh yeah, we already did go over that. Okay, cool. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is njedetwil@asu.edu. Feel free to send me an email if you have any other questions, or if you just want to send me your projects for me to look over and give you some cool critiques. But other than that, let me show you how to export real quick and then we're done. Okay. First, you want to go to File and then Export. I suggest just sticking to WAV and MP3 if you're doing like sound files for like video games or a song or something like that. It's definitely the best way to go. Um, OGG is another acceptable file usually. I don't know much about FLAC, but I know that MIDI files are actually the numbers and code that make up computer sound. So that would be if you were trying to send your patterns or your projects or your MIDI placement, because our electric piano, our drums, they were all placed using MIDI. They're all MIDI instruments. So if you wanted to send it to somebody to mess around with in their own FL or in a different DAW or with a different program, that's the way to go. Okay, I'm just gonna do wave. We already have it named. We already have it named. I already have a FL exports tab where I export all of my songs to. So I'm just going to export it to that. I'm going to go save. I'm going to say full song unless you want to just unless you did it all in one pattern, or if you just want one pattern like a little thing to export and listen to. Because we can also choose just like the electric piano one. And then I'd suggest cut remainder so you don't leave anything, so it doesn't just keep running on. It's just when the pattern stops, it stops. It doesn't complete the measure or anything. Um, Bit depth is usually music quality. I'd suggest just a 32-bit float. That'll just give you the best. Same with this down here. Um, this is also gonna affect your music quality or your sound quality. Again, I would go with a relatively high um, sync, but also not a too high one, or it'll take forever to export. So yeah, these are all just if you have notes written in your music. We didn't really go over like loop markers or playlist markers or note markers or anything like that, but um, I would definitely keep these on. These enable your effects. This splits the split the mixer tracks. That will split each individual mixer track that has a channel attributed to it. Um, that's great if you want to hear each individual mixing track. I've used it a couple times if I just wanted to each individual pattern, sound and everything, and effect that they have on it individually. Um, So that's good for that. And then you just click start and it should export. Makes a little sound and bam, you're done. It pops up right there. And then you can open it and listen to it.
Hello, my name is Noah.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, that is it for this tutorial. I appreciate anybody who's watching. Feel free. Again, my email is njdetwil@asu.edu. If you want to send me projects or just send me any questions, feel free. All right. Thank you very much. Bye, guys.